So today we have author Mike Wysocki, and he is the author of Careers by the People. Mike, welcome to the Talented Life.
Ahmad, thank you very much.
Thanks. So you and I actually had a really cool exchange on LinkedIn, and we know some people in common. And when I saw the title of your book, Careers by the People, it's a very provocative title, and I thought it would be an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what it means to be by the people, and I guess you can say for the people. So real quickly, what is Careers by the People?
Well, careers by the people, and I could go the long form or the short form, but it's 101 occupations from the people who actually work them. Each was asked 20 plus questions. Majority have 5+ years in their field. CEOs, actuaries, accountants, all over the map. And the intro and the conclusion, I talk about myself, first gen, low income student, how I should have prepared for the real world, and I didn't, and how I would have prepared. And the endorsements are from educators from Harvard, Stanford, UMass, you name it. So that's pretty much within a quick minute of what the book's about.
So Mike, what prompted you to write this book?
Oh my God, the most fun question I love to get. It's very simple. It's when I was younger, I grew up in the blue collar, lower, what do they call it, lower income areas, and there was no like careers or nobody talked about occupations. It wasn't even spoken about. And so my parents really pushed me, get a college degree, because as we all know, you get a college degree and it leads to billions. I mean, you get out of college day 2, you're a billionaire. Well, even back then it was a millionaire. But the point was that's not true. And so I did the schooling. I went to a good school, UMass, and I didn't prepare. And then I got an okay job out of school, but I was always confused and frustrated about what I should do with myself. And so I was bouncing around Boston and then just said, you know what, I'm going nowhere here. I moved to LA and I ended up in technology sales because I was only going for money. I'm like, okay, that's where the money is these days, tech sales. So I'll sell all this tech stuff. Didn't care about it. And, you do well financially. You move up the ladder and you get these really cool gigs and you get to eat, go to nice steakhouses, fly around the country, get to live the good life. But there's no joy. I mean, if you don't find something that interests you, you're going to be miserable. And I was like, paycheck, yay, 5 seconds of joy, and the rest of it's terrible. But the thing is, with money, you can do activities. And instead of going out, buying a boat or going to the golf course every weekend, I'm like, I want to see what I can come up with. And the idea of Careers by the People popped in my head. Is everybody as miserable as I am? What are the thoughts are? What's it like being, an actuary, an accountant, a CEO, a farmer, a policeman, whatever? And let me look into it. And I did a lot of homework, and I found out there's really kind of 2 books before me that did this. And that was Working by Turkle, Stud Turkle in like 72.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, you know that, but nobody else knows it out there. Yeah. It's a sociological view of the work. And Studs, it's like, it was interesting, but it really didn't get, ingrained. And then the second one was Gig by John Bowe that came out around 2000. Very good book. Again, sociologically about the workers' thoughts and views. And Bowe actually endorsed my book, by the way.
Oh, wow. Great.
Yeah. He's actually really cool. And I connect with him a lot. But the fact about it is mine's clear and concise, direct questions, cut and dry, 101. And so when the people look at the book, they can go, oh my God, I don't want to be an electrical engineer. I want to be, an archaeologist. And that's in the book. So, you know what I mean? They can pick and choose, and it's all broken into Holland's occupational themes, 6 chapters. So that was kind of the angle.
That's great. Now, you said something that really, hits the nail right on the head. Hits the hammer. Oh, I forgot how that phrase goes.
Hammer on the nail or something like that, yeah.
I forgot. So, as we know, about 35% of people, I think there was a poll taken, and it's still done almost every year. Only about 35% of employees actually report enjoying their jobs. The other 65%, I think maybe about 55%, say that they're not engaged in their job. So it appears that there's a huge population of people that are feeling disinterested and disengaged in their work. And that's huge because, when it comes to what drives people to not only be productive, but to really have a sense of their own agency is when they get to connect, to work that they enjoy. What did you actually find out there? Did you have a chance to interview people and really hear about what were their motivations for going into any specific field?
You know what it was? It's usual. And when I did my research on that, it was like 50%. So I always tell people it's a flip of the coin.
Yeah.
And some people are, oddly drawn to whatever. And so those are the people that usually figure it out because they know what they want to do and they focus on that. Whereas most people, it's like, well, the worst is I fell into it, or it's what the family does. And that's just awful response. I fell into it. I fell into a puddle. Yeah, that's what you fall into. You shouldn't fall into a career. You should focus. And so the difference is I think it's clear and concise. I tell the students these days, I go, the ones that are the most miserable are the people that fell into it, or, it's a family gig, or they just wanted work like I did. Instead of doing some homework and trying to determine and narrow down some fields, which I always tell them first, they go, narrow down industries. Okay. What interests you? Like with me, I'm not good at the medical thing. I don't like that. I wouldn't get involved with that. Languages I'm not great in. I wouldn't get involved in that. So you got to kind of narrow it down. And so when I speak to students, I tell them, I go, let's narrow it down to at least 3 different industries to start off with. And actually I had a call with a young woman the other day, and we were talking, she narrowed it down to 2, and then she found a way to integrate the 2 into 1. And so we're working our way to work on our, LinkedIn and resume and all that stuff. She's really cool. So it's like, why not? But yeah, it basically boils down to the people that are happy, knew what they wanted to do, or had some suggestions, had some ideas, and the people that usually aren't. And the other ones too is the people that take risks were much happier than the people that didn't. And the person that's usually like the clerk in, some county office or something like that, they were miserable. One lady was so miserable, I had to read and edit her questionnaire a few times, and I was laughing the whole time. She should have been a comedy writer. It was hysterical how much she hated her job.
So what do you recommend for someone who is in a position, let's say a clerical position, they're not enjoying their job, but they have family, they have bills to pay, they have mortgage. What do you recommend for them to rethink their strategy that can lead to a more happier experience at work and career?
Yeah, in that situation, because they're already started their lives, it's going to be a little tougher, but don't give up. I kind of really started at 28. I bounced around until I was 28 years old. So I wasted 6 years of failing. So I would say to the person, I'm like, okay, again, narrow down industries that you like. Also, you can look into things like certificates. You can learn, the community college or Toastmasters, learn how to public speak. It's a lot of things I talk about are professional skills, soft skills, because people seem to be lacking them. Public speaking, in John Bow's book, by the way, the one he wrote, I can't think of, I Have Something to Say is the name of the book. Bow says that people prefer death over public speaking. And I always tell the students, I go, learn to public speak. It increases your net worth. If you can get up in front of the group and start speaking about your subject of matter, you're going to do well and move up. If you're afraid, you're going to be fired. So it's kind of cut and dry. So I'd always tell the people, work on your skills, find something that interests you, take a couple classes, either online or community college, or, like we spoke about. There's so many angles out there. Get on LinkedIn, network with the people, ask them questions. Hey, do you have a few minutes to talk? Go to your alumni groups. Another curveball, if you like an industry, go to trade shows. There's trade shows all over the place. You get a trade show about any subject under the sun. That's where those people are going to be hanging out. Associations, join associations, and learn how the other people in the associations are. There's ways to do it. You have to do more than just schooling. And that's what people have to understand is there's opportunities out there, and you're going to deal with a lot of no's. You have to make a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. But the fact is, that's the only way to break it down. And it's always been that way, right? Remember when we were younger, You need to make the calls, knock on the doors, everything. Nothing's changed.
Well, there's many more tools available now for generations after us. It's interesting that you talk about engagement and being happy at what you do, because there's kind of this debate that's going on in the culture between a group of people that say find your passion or follow your passion and never do another day of work. That's kind of the phrase that go along there. And then you have these group of people that's been popping up online. These are kind of like celebrity voices that's telling you the opposite. You have people kind of like Mike Rowe, who is people probably remember him from Dirty Jobs, and he's an actor. You have Robert Greene, the author of several books, including Mastery. You have Professor Galloway and another guy named Cal Newport that wrote a book on work. And what they say is, don't follow your passion. And they say that passionately. And currently, right now, I'm writing an article which should be out by the time that we're done with the publishing of this particular episode, saying that's hogwash, that passion matters, because passion, if you translate it, it is something very much biological. It's something that actually provides us with motivation. What do you say about that? Those who say, do not follow your passion versus those who say, follow your passion or find your passion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always, people revert back to different things. I'll revert back to myself. Okay, so I'll listen to those guys. I didn't follow my passion, so I was miserable for 30 years,
Yeah, yeah.
humping up firewalls. Big deal, big whoop. I'm not listening to those guys. I want to do something. Okay, when I talk to people and find the people that have some type of joy, it's easy. When they leave the office or the day, sometimes they actually read about it on the weekends or in the evenings about their industry because they're so impassioned. When I worked with engineers, some of the engineers loved their gigs. I mean, these guys were like, you don't get it. This is awesome. They were sales engineers. They got to speak to people, talk to clients, work with computers and stuff like that. They love it. Whereas the sales reps themselves, I told one of my friends, I go, hey, man, I think 95% of us hate it. He goes, Wysocki, you're crazy. It's 98%. And so, yeah, I think you have to have some type of joy. I mean, seriously, if not, then it's simple. Go after the highest paid job. And every time students tell me this, they go, money, money, money. Okay, you know what? How much does Mike Rowe make? Screw it. Go get an MBA from Wharton, become an investment banker, and you make $4 or $5 million a year. I don't know what Rowe makes, but maybe $5 million a year is a pretty damn good a paycheck to me. So yeah, everybody become an investment banker, a venture capitalist, everything else, forget about it, right? Now, if you do that and you're miserable, I mean, what fun is that? The guys working, 15 hours a day on Wall Street, killing themselves, bouncing around the world. No, if that's not your game, and you're not going to be good at it anyway. I always tell people, if there's something that you don't like, you don't care about, you'll be good. To be great, you have to have some passion and some interest. There's no way. There's no way you can be the best, insurance salesman in, I don't know, Nashua, New Hampshire, if you're not passionate about it. You know what I mean? You have to have some interest of what you do. And if not, then you're going to be me again and go into tech sales. I mean, any dope can do that, So it's like, yeah, no, I mean, I disagree with those guys, but I mean, I don't know. I lived it and it wasn't a joy. I'll tell you that. I wish I spent 30 years in something I like. Right now, I love what I do. Just going to make a couple more bucks,
So you also know that there's a lot of people who I think who see themselves as having multiple skills or multiple interests. There's a huge push by some people who speak about being a generalist. There's those who talk about having these cross-section skills or interdisciplinary skills. And there's even discussions in the career field about having a portfolio career, which means that you're doing a number of different things. For young people, let's say who are in high school and have varied interests, how should they go about finding out where to put their time in? And is it necessarily an unfortunate approach to look at various options for how you go by managing your career.
Well, in that situation, I would see. It's funny because I talk to people about similar scenarios. I go, you're first going to find the industries that really you like. Because, example, if somebody does like tech, they can start off at the bottom in sales and inside sales and start off, and then they move their way up. Maybe they go transfer to marketing, because sales is a burnout job. And then some people in marketing can go to operations. There's so much inside. I'll give you an example. I met a lady from the Port of Houston at a show, and she's like, "Hey, I'd like to do some business with you." And she goes, "Everybody thinks all we do is, shipping containers." She goes, I go, "No, it's logistics, right?" She goes, "Yeah, it's huge, but there's so much out there in these different type of industries that there's so many different segments in it." And that's what, when I talked to the young lady the other day, was she wanted to do HR and medical, but she called it another terminology.
Mm.
And so, she tried to figure out ways, she's working on ways to combine the two to find a good medical company that would help her out so she could learn HR as well. But I'd say, like, as long as you can find something that interests you, like an industry, then there's so many positions within it, and people can bounce around that. And that's nothing wrong with that. That's actually really valuable. Hey, I was in, logistics, and I did this, this, and this, and this, and this. And you're like, no way, man. You work for, I don't know, UPS, the post office, FedEx, and DHL, and a variety of other ones. But the person's going to know it's sideways. And that person, their value, yeah, that's where they go to the executive class, because they've done everything.
Sure. So your book, let's talk a little bit about it. So what's in it, and who is it for?
Well, it's funny when people write, as you write stuff, you kind of, the book is written for me at 18 or 19. People always say, "Oh yeah, I had my head on straight." I didn't. I was a total opposite. I was hanging around the corner, drinking beer, being a complete idiot. I had nothing going on. Was going to college, didn't care, could care less, hanging out with my friends, basically, barely making through. And then I transferred from UMass Boston, which is a commuter school, to UMass Amherst. And I started meeting all these other students that were doing incredible things with their lives. And I'm like, whoa, I kind of scored here. So I got to learn a little bit more about what's happening in the world. And so from there, then, I got out of school and started, in the workforce. And because I wasn't prepared, I got the first gig because I went to the same school as my manager, good guy. But I wasn't fulfilled. I liked the industry, but I didn't. I tried to figure out how to move around it, and I failed, and I gave up quickly to what? The dollar. I met a gal who knew a guy, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in insurance sales, big money." And I'm like, "Oh, I want to hear big money. I came from low income. That's all I want to hear is big money."
Yeah.
So I did it. And, you can't be 23 or 22 years old selling life insurance. It's awful. So, but from there, I was just, doing, part-time gigs here and there. Then I got to selling IT technology, and that was a wreck. And then then I was miserable with that again. And so it just was a disaster. And then I said, you know what, to hell with it. I moved back to my parents, and I said, I'm going to take a year to focus on what I'm going to do with myself. I'll move out to California, and like everybody else, try to write movies or screenplays. And, of course, everybody fails in that, big deal. But I'll figure out what else. When I got out there, I did temp jobs, and there was no joy there. And then I'm like, you know what, I'll just go back into tech sales. And so I did that and tried it on the side, write screenplays and everything like that. But the good news was, when I kept on getting rejected from screenplays, it kept my writing going. And that's when the idea, as I started moving up in the technology field, that's where the careers by the people came in. It's just like, the money's good, but there's no joy whatsoever. So that goes back to the other people that are saying the opposite. There was nothing. I mean, I was just going there to pay, not really pay the bills, but to make some cash and and just hit the quota and go from there. And they get you, like, you're selling your soul out, and they get you once they get you, you can't leave. You got a mortgage, you got bills, you got this lifestyle. it's kind of cool.
So what's part of your interest early on? Was it to get into film and movies and Hollywood? Because it sounds like you came out to LA guns blazing, ready to write the next big movie. What's the name of those two guys from Boston?
Oh, Affleck and Damon, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Well, those guys did it actually, and
they
I did
did.
it. But then again, this story has some question marks too to it. But anyway, but the thing about it is, so I mean, for me, you went out there and I didn't plan it right or whatever, but it didn't. Again, and then I started meeting people in the industry. It was a kind of a turnoff anyway. It was like, if what would have been more fun, I wish I actually tried, was writing for a comedian. That would have been fun because it's just quick jokes. You get
Yeah.
them done pretty fast and you keep moving on. But anyway, can't go back in time. But right now, though, because this book, though, it's a joy. So in essence, all the suffering I did in sales or in life or whatever, or lack of career enjoyment, now I finally got something. And some of my friends are retired. They go, I don't get it. You're still working. I go, it's different. I've always wanted to see like work as a joy, and I've always wanted to see what it's like to wake up and enjoy Monday or look forward to it or talk about it. I know
Sure.
guys I grew up with who've known since elementary school. When I was in tech sales, goes, what do you do? I don't understand it. I go, it's none of your concern what I do. I go, it's not illegal, but I work in the tech world and you don't need to know about it. And they're like, okay. And we move on and talk about something stupid. But the point is, now if somebody asks me about the career stuff, I can go for hours. I mean, because it's amazing. And the thing about it is, it's 40 years of people's lives, but yet they spend so much time like deciding on what TV to buy or what car to buy or where, it goes back into Frank Parsons, the OG of
Hmm.
careers. He goes, hey man, other than the choice of a spouse, the career is your second biggest choice in your life.
Yeah.
And they don't take it seriously. So it kind of drives me nuts. So yeah, so I'm a career addict, is what one could say.
So do you consider yourself, are you still in tech sales or did you move on and now is your joy being an author and a career readiness guide and expert? Is that now your key focus?
Yes, 100%. I'm out of the tech gig.
Uh-huh.
Praise the Lord. And it shows you right there, there's God that exists because I'm out of that thing, thank God. But the next thing is, so right now the focus is the book two. The book won an award, which is cool, IPPY award, which is great. I did the Udemy
Congratulations. That's
class,
great.
like I think I told you earlier.
Yeah.
I got 90 videos, and so I focus as much as I can on what can help the next generation. And so I reach out to colleges and some, high schools too. High school's going to be like juniors and seniors above. Do you need speakers? You need somebody to speak in the school. And the funny thing about it is, I'm thinking I'm going to be upsetting the speakers out there because I'm like, don't hire me for one speaking engagement. I go, let me speak there 4 times a day.
Yeah.
At New Milford High School in Connecticut, when I was out there off of like the book tour and speaking to schools, he goes, how many times can you speak? And I go, I was in tech sales. I can speak from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I go, but I told him, seriously, I'll take 4. And he put me boom, 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 back to back. And he goes, what do you need? I go, a glass of water. He's like, I can do that.
So basically, so your career now, and congratulations, because it sounds like you're getting a lot of joy from this. So you
Yeah.
are definitely putting your work, where your mouth and pen is. So you're speaking, so you consider yourself to be a paid speaker now,
Yes.
an
Now I'm going to
author,
paid, yeah, author, paid speaker gig. Correct.
and are you doing coaching and anything else?
I'm offering right now, if they want to do one-on-ones, they can hire me to do a one-on-one and all like that. But really I want to do is to speak to the students and all. So that's the real goal. It's the biggest joy. I can see what's going on in their heads, what's happening. The other thing too is a lot of these schools, you know, I hear these nightmare stories consistently. The colleges and high schools is that the career counselors are overworked, underpaid. These people get paid nothing, by the way, which is sad.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you're sending your child to an amazing college, but yet the career counselor is 23, 24, getting paid nothing.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense whatsoever. So when I speak, a lot of the students come up afterwards and go, "Hey, here's my situation. What do you think? What do you think?" And we talk a lot about a variety of subjects. So yeah, it's a real joy, and it's fun. So yeah, I mean, the other thing too is I got 30 years out in the industry in the real world, and in tech sales, every few years you're looking for a new gig. So I know how to find gigs more than probably most people.
Sure.
And so, we're trained in soft skills or professional skills, as they call them. So just I mean, put all the tools together, right?
Absolutely. So when a student, so where do you see the gap? So a student's graduating from college
Yeah.
and they have a certain type of mindset, they have a lack of knowledge about career readiness and career search. What does your book do in order to help close that gap?
Well, it helps with career exploration.
Mhm.
First thing is that here's where the big gap is. And it's awful, actually. I'll tell you I'll tell you right now what the problems are. And so let's make it easy. Let's focus on colleges. Okay, colleges want money to obviously from the student. Okay, student X, Y, Z pay up. And what do you want to get a degree in? Engineering. Engineering makes money, right? I want to be an engineer. Great, pay up. Okay, what kind of engineering? Mechanical. Okay, so great. We get this track over here. Those are the classes. You get your degree. Pay up. There's net only a certain amount of schools, and I love to dig them out when I dig them out. Have career exploration. You know what? You're a freshman. You have to take some career exploration. If you're 100% not sure, they give them ideas and suggestions, and it's amazing. I look when I look at the schools, I look at what do they have for career exploration? What are they doing? And some of the top named schools out there don't have it. On the flip side, I mean, Boston University and Northeastern, my God, it's amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
those guys, they're career crazy ready. I
they
mean,
are. Yeah, they do a good
yeah.
job.
So I mean, I've spoken at Boston University 4 times because you know why? You talk to BU and they go, "Sure, why not? You seem like you're educated. You wrote a book." So they're loving it. Whereas,
Sure.
but I want to focus on the schools, not top 50s. I mean, I'll do it. I mean, I got to pay the bills too, like everybody.
Mhm.
But I like, the higher numbers out there, the schools that are like, like the middle average student goes to, or the one like myself, like a barely get into out of high school, barely get into college. Those schools, because they're going to get less career counselors or less real information, or less real world. And
Absolutely.
I get that. I can offer that to them. And, I'm pretty straight up. It's not like I'm like this cool and hip speaker that people are, no, I mean, I got mumbling problems. I got stuttering problems. People think I got an accent, believe it or not. But I mean,
No, just a little, just a little.
but you know what I mean? It's just like you want to get the real information to the
Yeah.
students. And I tell them, I go, look at this video. And I also ask them, I go, if there's something I'm missing, tell me. And actually, University of New Hampshire, my connection up there with the TRIO program, and I love the TRIO programs. She's like, "Hey, I love your stuff, but can you whip up a slide on professional skills?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I went to Harvard, Business Review, and Forbes, and boom, saw what they had to say and added my own thoughts about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm geared, whatever they need, So
And
well,
so you've been so successful with this, and your book has been well received, and you've just received an award. And on top of that, you're going to be teaching a course. You want to talk a little bit about that before we close up?
yeah, sure. So it was funny because originally about a year ago, one of my friends, and she was like in your world too, the educational world, and she sold out to sell tech to make the cabbage. She kept on telling about Udemy classes, Udemy classes. And I'm like, okay. And I looked around and I checked with people in the industry, educational, and I said, you got Udemy and a couple other competitors. And they said, nah, Udemy's pretty easy to deal with. So go check them out. And a lot of people have Udemy classes.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay. So I did a little homework on Udemy, and the class I looked at, I'm like, not the greatest. So I did pretty much of what I speak to the students about. So I posted it actually yesterday or today, but it just came out. And just you got to look for reviews, and after that, I will charge in time. But right now, it's just getting the word out. So for the students this summer, if they have some time to look at my Udemy class, it's called career readiness. But I would say just plug in my last name, and it comes up to 2 people, and the other one's some little characters, cartoon characters. So mine's a picture of the book, but with no words. Udemy doesn't like words. So yeah, so that's why I did that. Should be cool. And if they don't learn anything from there, I mean, they're gonna have some issues. But I get the videos, 90 of them now about career readiness. So yeah,
So
you get
your course is 90 videos, or is it okay?
no, no, no. My YouTube channel has 90 videos. My
Okay.
course is 5 videos,
Okay.
one being the longest, which is really the presentation. I somewhat do it the schools.
Hmm.
And then I picked on some of my favorite videos. Example. One was called the resume booklet.
Hmm.
And so when students go in the second and third interview, if they bring the same resume, it's kind of redundant, right?
Right.
But I showed them this thing called the resume booklet. And ironically, I read a book, Classroom Careers by Morrison, or something like that. And she had something similar, which was really cool. So I wrote to her and she's like, oh man, thank you. But the resume booklet is where they can bring it. It's kind of a booklet with a resume, activities they've done, their references, as much 30, 60, 90-day plan, as much information as they can have to show the people in the interview. And I was telling them, I go, as long as you win 1% or above, you get the gig. And I learned that trick from an old sales guy named Tom Freeze, who wrote the book about 1% selling.
Hmm.
He goes, you don't have to crush the competition. He goes, just remember, win by 1%. And he gave all these little tidbits, and just little tidbits like that make it so, you get the job over the competition and things like that. I tell him, I go, get published. I was once at an interview and I go, the manager, eventually the hiring manager goes, you've been published? I go, no, 4 times I've been published right there. And that was in tech. So I mean, it's just these little differences of how do you versus, because the students now graduating, I mean, are you going to hire somebody that went to UMass or somebody that went to UConn, where the schools are ranked similarly? And then it's going to boil down to, what did the person do other than schooling? Did they do a summer internship? What have they learned? What can they bring to the table? And so I always, get into that stuff. I mean, think about it. Like, you went to Cal State, Long Beach versus Cal State Northridge. If a guy's getting a job in downtown, what's the difference to the hiring person? And the hiring guy went to Pepperdine. He doesn't know. He's like, come on, guys, what's the difference here? So you get, and that's what students, they come out of these schools with a chip on their shoulder and say, I went to a good school. Congratulations. But you need like 8 things to get this gig. So you best prepare.
So how are you feeling about like the electronic portfolios? Those seem to be the rage now. Is that part of what you're talking about in terms of having some work to show or something that they could access?
I say whatever they can have. If it's on electronics, whatever, great. I always say to do it old school in case if anything fails, you can bring something in. You physically can do it. And I tell them, the other thing too is I tell them, I go, remember, you might be interviewing with somebody who is, what was the generation, baby boomers, right? I go, they're not going to know tech that well.
Right.
So if you bring something old school, they'll probably enjoy it more and they feel more comfortable. But and that could differ. They go, hey, here's your e-portfolio, whatever. Here is your resume booklet, so they have a few different angles. But yeah, I mean, I tell them to do as much as they possibly can. So
I love it. So anything else you want to add? How can people get in contact with you and find your book? And do you have a website you want to share with us?
Yeah. So there's a few ways. Careersbythepeople.com. Everything's
Okay.
Careers by the People. My YouTube channel is, guess what? Careers by the People. LinkedIn, I'm Mike Wysocki, but I think you can pull up Careers by the People there.
Yeah.
I had to put a little business thing there, and it's the book. But I try to brand as much as possible under Careers by the People. I mean, I got my publisher up there, Wise Inc. But the fact is, I mean, my name's pretty uncommon. I live in Maui too, so the fact about it is, nobody's gonna be like me. I'm the only one with this name in Maui, so you get that, and the name of the book. So I'm not difficult to get a hold of. I'm not on Instagram or anything crazy. Just
Right.
business. All that. That's all I'm focused on, is to help the next generation choose better at careers than I did.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you for coming on and taking time to actually write this book that's monumental and sounds like a reference guide for people who want to see a range of jobs and opportunities and careers out there that may have not been considered. Because a lot of us, we have our preconceived ideas of what careers are. Some of those things come from our families and different cultures. Some of our families tell us that, if you're not an attorney, then you're nothing. If you're not a doctor, you're nothing. Then there's other people who grow up in, blue collar families that, they're in their third generation as a police officer or fireman or construction worker. So it's always fantastic when there's something that they could reference to know that there's a world out there that's a little bit broader than the experiences that we may have learned from the things that are around us. So I want to thank you and applaud you for doing the work and providing the people with something that they could dig into.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I agree with everything you said. You're 100% right on. You hear the attorney thing every day. Seriously, it's probably since you and I were 2 years old. Go be an attorney, go be a doctor.
Yeah.
How long do attorneys last? They're miserable too.
Absolutely.
But there's ones that do last, they love it, and those ones that chose right. Whereas we all know so many that went to law school who that's it. I got my law degree and I'm done with this.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I agree with you 100%. You have to figure out what is best for you. What is best for Uncle Vito is different than what's best for you. Aunt Susie, guy down the block, teacher with a big mouth, blah, blah, blah. Figure out what's best for you.
I think that's a great way to end it. Thank you, Michael. Mike, excuse me.
Thank you very much. Much love.